This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of wrestling video games, and they call Johnny Clash.
I'm George Feis, and today we are covering AEW Fight Forever. We have finally hit the 1 year mark on AEW's first main console release, and we will be live giving our rating here on YouTube.
And please subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And don't forget, you can get this episode early and ad-free. Patreon.com/podexchange, along with the show notes from this very show, Discord access, live recordings just like this one, but weekly, giveaways, and a whole lot more from us and our friends at Going Postal and State of Affairs. And if you are live on YouTube right now, stick around, because at 9:30, State of Affairs, that's Joe Shoes, that's Swoggle, they are going to be going live on our Patreon at Pod Exchange with social dinnering. It's going to go for a while. These guys are going to have a blast. Go have a blast with them. But right now, you are here. George, what is up? It's been a while.
It has been a little bit. We have taken, we did a Q&A, and we took a little week off, refreshed. We ran back the Chris Statlander interview, which I think was the first interview we ever did.
Episode 3.
Boy, you can tell that it was our first interview. Still, huge thanks to her for taking time out of her schedule for doing that with us. She definitely did not have
2019.
to. And still very much appreciated all these years later. But today is all about AEW Fight Forever. There's a lot to cover in this game, John. I honestly do not know how to start or where to start. So I guess the only thing to do is kind of get right into it, man. Are you ready to put on those nostalgia goggles for a game that came out last year? Are you ready to go back to a time when maybe you're going to put yourself in the mindset of we were waiting for this game to come out? We were excited about it.
Yeah, we can go pretty far back because this game took a while to get here. So I think we're going to tiptoe to the diving board. We're going to take the plunge, and it's time for AEW Fight Forever. Looking to add the newest wrestling figures to your lineup? There's no better spot to pick up your next figure than the Wrestling Collector Shop.
Started by collectors for collectors around the globe, Wrestling Collector Shop has been serving the fans the latest and greatest in wrestling action figures since 2002. So the next time you're looking for the newest wrestling collectible to add to your collection, make sure go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com and use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% on your order.
That's 10% off your order with code GameMarks at WrestlingCollectorShop.com. Do it!
All right, the deep dive is brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop. Make sure to use code GameMarks to save 10%. You just heard the ad. Go and do it. It's great. Save yourself on some of the best action figures possible. Last week, courtesy of our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop, we gave away an Elite Cody Rhodes. John, what are we doing this week?
This week, we are giving away this Elite 91. We're going back a little bit. Bianca Belair. All you have to do is go find our pinned post on Instagram where we have the AEW Fight Forever artwork. Tag 3 friends, like the post, and you are entered to win. The drawings are every Friday at noon. This Bianca could be yours. And next week, I got a whole box there. We got even more.
Oh, man. Again, huge shout out to Wrestling Collector Shop. Thank you for being a part of the journey for all of the shows on the Pod Exchange Podcast Network. But John, let's get into it. AEW Fight Forever, released June 29th, 2023 for the Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and S. Developed by Yuke's, published by THC Nordic.
THC. George is on one tonight,
man,
guys.
I'm going to take a sip of the seltzer.
George said, hang on, is Rob Van Dam in this game?
You just made me play Fight Forever for a fucking hour, man. Like, my brain is fried.
When you message me later and say, can you take that out? I am not taking that out.
Damn it. Published by THQ Nordique. Other wrestling games in the wrestling sphere in 2023. You've got WrestleQuest, Markout wrestling card game, Casual Pro Wrestling, and WWE 2K23.
I'm still dying. Sorry.
Yeah, you take your time. I'll keep going through this. Now, AEW had already released 2 games prior to this. You have AEW Casino Double or Nothing in 2020, and then also in 2020, you have AEW Elite GM. But, as we mentioned in the top of this episode, this is the first console release for AEW. I will be second guessing everything I say for the remainder of this podcast. Also,
tears in my eyes.
Also, it may have something to do with the fact that prior to recording tonight, I was listening to Chris Van Vliet's interview with RVD.
Oh, my God.
And that's not a joke. That's factual. That's actually what I was doing.
Oh, my God. That was amazing. Let's talk about this damn game. Okay, compose yourself.
So you need a breath? You want to go step away for a second and come back?
Okay, so this game, we started hearing rumblings back in October of 2019. It wasn't officially announced until November 2020. It got a lot of flack because, I mean, that's a pretty big time period until the game actually came out. That's over 3 years. So, first of all, we heard this game was coming out. It was going to be headed by Kenny Omega. There were rumors that it was going to be THQ and Ukes, but it was kind of like, is it actually going to be? Because that just sounds like they're going to, everybody wants No Mercy again, blah, blah, blah. But then it actually happened, which is pretty crazy. Ukes hasn't been involved since WWE 2K19, I believe, because 2K20 was the disaster where they scrapped it all, went back to, 18?
18.
And yeah, so Ukes wasn't there since 2018. So this was a pretty big deal that we're finally getting THQ back. We're finally getting Ukes back. And yeah, I mean, this is, I guess we've said it many times when mentioning, oh my God, we are both on one today.
We just played this game on stream for an hour, man. Like,
when we mentioned Ultra Pro Wrestling, how it's like a love letter to those old games, the AKI series of games. And this, I guess, really is as well. I remember from the first time we saw the first match, the first gameplay, it was like, oh my God, this has the potential to be something really cool. I think the problem is here. When doing that, you dig yourself into a hole of a niche. There's
no managing of expectations.
Right. There is a big world out there right now that wants creative wrestlers. They want created arenas. They want to watch content. We're in a world of content, and that's what surrounds us. That's what people want to make. That's what we make. That's literally everything. A game like this does not give you content. It gives you straightforward gameplay. You don't even need online play here to go have that nostalgia moment of, oh my God, this is like No Mercy, and I'm going to have fun with it. But we digress. We'll get into really our thoughts later. The trailer was finally revealed with Kenny Omega, Jericho Shida, and then Hideyuki Gaeta, who is the director of No Mercy and WCW NWO Revenge, who is also coming back as the director of this game. So that also gave us some hope. Now, there's also something that gave us hope that we're going to get to when we get into the Road to Elite as well.
It's happened a couple times on the podcast. Not a lot. A lot of the times when we were playing the game, it's a game that, came out and early 2000s, the 80s, the 90s, it's throwback games. It's happened before. Very few occasions have happened where we have been around for this podcast has been around for the entire life cycle of this game.
Yeah.
Conception to announcement to full release to the state that it's now. It's not the first time it's happened where, a game has been released during the life of this podcast and we're covering it. But every time that it does happen, I don't know. It feels like I'm almost more invested in the game because it's not necessarily like we're going back and playing for nostalgia purposes. It's just we have literally covered every aspect of this game from announcement to the updates that they were releasing through AEW games on social media, through the trailers and stuff that you had talked about, which would, sometimes they would run on YouTube. Sometimes they would run during episodes of the television show. They were announcements on pay-per-views. It always feels a little bit more special when, we get to see the whole life cycle of a game.
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I do remember how hyped we were when that first trailer came out because we were like, okay, this has some potential. I said during our playthrough, to describe this game in one word, it's literally potential. And that's it, because it has everything there is to be a good game.
I think it's open space on each side of that word, though.
Exactly. And I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm not even giving my rating yet because we just played this game for an hour. There were flubs. There were some things that were bad. There was a lot actually that was bad, but there was also a lot that was good. And there was stuff that I had fun playing. And I think you did as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's like those older games in the sense where when you load it up, you're like, okay, this is really cool, but you get bored really easily.
We're going to talk about it, like you said. We're going to get into the ins and outs of it. We're going to give our thoughts, our critiques, what we would change about the game. But let's actually break down the game itself, what the modes are, what you can actually play through, because before they announced everything, they announced what would be the bread and butter, which is just the regular exhibition, one-on-one matches, tag matches, 3-way, 4-way, the Battle Royale, which is just, your Royal Rumble.
But you draw a card to get in.
Yeah.
Only 4 people in the ring. I wish that was a little bit different.
An exploding barbed wire death match, which, aside from Fire Pro, has never been really in other kinds of... There's been iterations of it, but not even in Fire Pro is it called exploding barbed wire death match. They're just usually called death matches.
No, and I'm going to say this. From an animation standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, that is the best mode in this 100%. Entire game. 100%. It is so good. The explosion, the way it replays, the way it just happens, which I'm sure we're going to post it somewhere because obviously the gameplay, but I think we should isolate it too because it was so damn cool. Every time it was cool. You're just like, wow. That was awesome. Unfortunately, unique. I think the worst part of this game mode, the explosion happens too fast where it's front loaded, back loaded, I should say. So you start the match within 100 seconds. Now this thing goes off and now you have to wrestle an entire match after that. And the tables are broken. You only have the barbed wire. Most of the fun is already over. I think it should have been pushed back a little or make it hurt more so then the match could end quicker.
Yeah, I have to imagine that they base that off of average match times. That counter just wasn't pulled out of nowhere. There had to be some kind of data that was supporting that. For me, the thing that I wish there was a little bit more love put into was the road to Elite.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Also, we have to touch on, there's the exploding barbed wire death match. There's also ladder matches, a training area, and then mini games, which we'll get into later. But
in the lights out match.
Oh, yes, in the lights out. But we got to talk about we got to talk about Road to Elite, because this is the arcade. It's very reminiscent of like the Street Fighter games. You're flying from place to place. You're going all over.
Legends of Wrestling.
Legends of Wrestling, also a very good example. I feel like if they continued to add content to that and made it more diverse for each playthrough, I think that mode would have been like the way that it was released. I think was great. You could play through it 3 or 4 times. Maybe by the 4th time, you're like, okay, I don't want to play through this anymore. But if with every patch they added more, forks to go down, more splits in the road to change things up, more, with the DLC, if you could fight against characters from the DLC packs and things like that. Just do things to make it more diverse in the sense of that it's not the same stories or the same 3 or 4 forking storylines every time.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's start from the beginning here. First of all, our good buddy, our good friend, guy we talk to all the time in the Game Marks podcast Hall of Games.
That is very true.
2022, 23, I don't remember if we were before or after the new year. Justin Leeper was the lead narrative designer here. He kind of kept this hush-hush until the game actually came out. One day we would like to have him back. We would love to talk about his experience here working with Kenny Omega, working on the game as a whole, because we've already talked to him about working on the SmackDown vs. Raw games, and we know how much he put into it, how much heart and soul, and how much he enjoys doing what he does, and he's good at it. He's really good at it. Now, Road to the Elite, you start as a up-and-comer signing a contract from the indies. You're now literally, you're on your road to being elite. You do the darks, you do the rampage, and no, there's no collision yet in this game. You do kind of like the smaller matches until you get going, and you kind of pick your own path, but they eventually all lead to the same path at the end, kind of. It's very hard to steer the game the way you want it in this one. You join the Death Triangle, you could join the Dark Order. I think certain people like Chris Statlander, Orange Cassidy, John Silver, like the Dark Order, they have different paths to start. Did I say Jeff Hardy? I don't remember, but he's in there too. You pretty much just go, like George said, to different areas of the country. You eat at restaurants in those countries. It's very RPG without being an RPG.
Yeah.
Like it wants to be so bad. Like you're going to, I don't know, wherever. You're going to New York. You're taking selfies with wrestlers there. You're taking a selfie with Sting giving the peace sign, which I don't know how I feel about that. It's just a little all over the place, and it's not what wrestling fans are used to. I think to do the branching storylines, it could have been done, and I'm not saying, oh, it should be done like this. But maybe if you want to do that love letter, No Mercy, do it by championship, or do it on a path to different storylines. Show us where we're going with it. I think it was fun. Yeah, a lot like Wrestling Road Diaries. It was fun the first time, like you said. Unfortunately, it doesn't carry over. So I used my creator wrestler. I boosted all the stats. I did the moves. I bought the moves. I went to do it again, thinking I was going to boost it even more, get new stuff. It started me back at the beginning. So now I'm like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I think I started one with Jeff Hardy after that, and that's kind of where I died off. I didn't play again. And there's challenges within there, too, like how to get Paul White. There's someone else, right, that you could unlock?
Owen, Paul White.
Owen, right. Which we didn't even talk about. Owen Hart is in this game. First game he was in since, what, Attitude?
Yeah. Psych.
Which is pretty crazy. The relationship, as we're recording, the Owen Hart Cup is going on. So that's pretty nuts. And no, actually, he was in Legends of Wrestling, so I was wrong.
Oh, yes.
I don't know.
Man.
I don't know.
There's another thing that I know that we want to spend a lot of time talking on. So I just want to go through this first before we get there. your rundown of minigames here. So you've got Penta Says, Chip Gather, Sheeta's Slugfest, Steal the Show, Pit Drop, Path Tracer, Who's Missing, Spot the Difference, Memory, Box Breaker, Egg Hunt, Bomb Hunt, Where's Orange, Count 'em Up, AEW Pop Quiz, and then available in the 2 launch DLC packs, you have Join Us, which is part of the FTR Revival Pack. And then you have Death Race X, which is also a part of the FTR Revival Pack. And then you have MJF's Car Thrash and Sloth Sling. Both are a part of the Limitless Bunny Bundle. We're going to talk...
That's sometimes fast.
We're going to talk about the mini games in a second more.
I think we're going to take a quick little break here, and we're going to come back, and then we're going to discuss the gameplay. We're going to discuss Stadium Stampede and go through the roster.
As someone who, so we're 2 people, we've talked about it a lot on this podcast. We're 2 people who very much enjoy the creator wrestler aspect of video games. You not so much in the sense of like movesets and stuff. I think you've found ways to make it work within your play style nowadays.
Yeah, I absolutely love the whole upload and creating someone. That's what I love to do. As soon as the 2K games come out and all that, I'm creating my friends, I'm creating me. It's just fun.
Talk to me about Fight Forever's creation suite.
Minimal, not much. You're getting a few hairstyles, a few beards. You could change your hair color to a couple things. The gear is very lacking. It's one of those games where you're getting armor and all that stuff that you don't actually want, like togas in a wrestling game. It reminds me of the old like Day of Reckonings and WrestleMania 19s where you just had ridiculous stuff you could put on your person, but you could also make an actual wrestler if you wanted. And in here, you can make someone that looks like an actual wrestler. You just don't get as much. And I know they've been adding stuff here and there. If they just gave us 1 slot for a logo, that's just 1 slot where you upload 1 logo and you could use it on a pair of tights, that would be the biggest improvement you could make in this game.
Absolutely.
As a creative. Obviously, you could do a lot more than just 1 logo, maybe a couple, maybe a few different slots for different things, and that would help big. But for me, someone who does create a lot of stuff, I feel like that would go pretty far.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. It's I feel like there was so much more they could have done. And I was really hoping that as the game had progressed, that they would have added more. Not to say that they haven't added anything, but I was hoping that they would have added more. That the store aspect of it, where you can buy cosmetic items for your entrance and things like that, that would have swapped out, because you earn in-game currency, and that, is at a certain point you've bought everything that you can from, SmackDown Hotel essentially.
Speaking of, that's where you get a few superstars, and we're going to read them in a little bit.
That is true. But okay, now let's talk about something that we both have put a decent amount of time into trying to play, but not a whole lot of time actually
waiting to play.
Yeah, getting to play. Let's talk about Stadium Stampede. On paper, I think it sounds incredible. A 30-player battle royal in a large stadium with the AEW roster. You pick who you're going to play as, and you drop in, and it essentially plays like every other battle royal. There's a circle that moves and shrinks, and other players that you have to eliminate. But there's twists and unique things, and I guess that's the thing that we're going to
carts and horses.
Yeah.
So it looks great. The arena looks like a cool Stadium Stampede arena. I feel like on paper, like you said, I was so hyped to see this. I'm like, this is going to save the game. This is going to be super exciting. Me and you had just played Rumbleverse, and the servers just shut down for Rumbleverse, so we were no longer able to play it, which was a really cool Battle Royale wrestling-based game. lacking a lot of wrestling stuff, but that was the premise. My big gripe with Stadium Stampede, I think it's the way you move and like actually wrestle. If they just kept the actual controls of the game, how to run, kick, punch, finishers, blah, 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 it would be completely different. But the fact that you could just run, you throw weapons, you do that stupid jump drop, you just kick and punch and do like a grapple that hits not even all the times you try to hit it, it kind of fell flat. Plus, you can never find a real player playing the game right now because it's not cross-platform, as we encountered earlier today. If it was cross-platform, you'd have more real players in there and maybe people would actually play. But since it's not, we played a game earlier. George loaded in. He was the one person in the entire game after we waited 3 minutes to get in. All bots in there. He won the game, obviously. The game then said, hey, this doesn't count because it was all bots. And that was it.
That was it. We loaded into a Casino Battle Royale, and that was it. We didn't even think about it anymore.
And look at this. WJB94 in the chat just said, I wonder how hard it would be if they added all of the wrestlers' beards and hairstyles to Creation Suite. That's as simple as that. Pull a No Mercy. Put every part to every wrestler just in there, mix and match, and you have something not perfect, but way better.
Yeah. And you let people do color swaps, and then people get creative. And you let people do color swaps, they get creative, they go, oh, I noticed that if I take this shirt and I change this color for the logo and this color of the shirt, it kind of makes it look like someone else's entrance gear. And now I've got a whole other wrestler. And yeah, that's a great idea. Man, so many small, simple tweaks could have been made that would have drastically changed, I think, a lot of people's opinions early on. And to see that we're a year later, and I don't even want to say things have gotten worse because they haven't.
Not at all.
I think the complaint is that it's a year later and the game is almost exactly the same, barring a couple arenas and a couple of character packs and DLCs. But speaking of character packs and DLCs, John, you want to talk about this roster?
Let's talk about this damn roster.
You're having some dry throat problems. So you sit back, you take a drink of water. You're going to do the R&Rs later. So let me take this off your plate for now.
It's all you. You are all elite.
Your roster for AEW Fight Forever consists of Abaddon, Adam Cole, Adam Page, Andrade, Anna Jay, Aubrey Edwards, Brian Cage, Britt Baker, DMD, Brody Lee, Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho, Christian Cage, Chuck Taylor, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Darby Allin, Dustin Rhodes, Eddie Kingston, Hikaru Shida, Jade Cargill, Jeff Hardy, John Silver, John Moxley, Jungle Boy, Kenny Omega, Chris Statlander, Lance Archer, Luchasaurus, Malachi Black, Matt Jackson, Miro, MJF, Nick Jackson, Nyla Rose, Orange Cassidy, Owen Hart, Pac, Paul White, Penta L0M, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ray Phoenix, Ricky Starks, Rio, Ruby Soho, Sammy Guevara, Scorpio Sky, Sting, Tay Mello, Thunder Rosa, Trent Beretta, Wardlow, and Yuka Sakazaki. Now, that's the base roster. On paper, fantastic. You're hitting all of the touchstones. There are some people who were day one AEW that probably should have been on that roster. But we were optimistic. We went, hey, they've announced that they plan on doing DLC packs. It's going to be great. Can't wait. So then your DLC wrestlers. You've got Adam Copeland, Claudio Castagnoli, Danhausen, FTR, Hook, Jamie Hayter, Jay White, Keith Lee, Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, The Acclaimed, The Bunny, and Tony Storm.
So Jay White is coming soon, I believe. He's on the load screen now.
Yep.
The game, but he's not available. We looked that up earlier, so that should be soon. And as we mentioned earlier, Cody Rhodes, Brody Lee, and Aubrey Edwards were available in the shop, much like the SmackDown Hotel, along with Jacket Cody.
Yes.
So you can get Jacket Cody.
Brown Jacket Cody.
Just like the Elite figure that I have behind me that will be given away in a few weeks. Now, your arenas in the game, you got Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, Full Gear, Dynamite, Rampage, and Dark, all from 2022. Now, later on, you get the newer version of Dynamite, and since then on TV, you actually get a newer version of Dynamite, so maybe you'll get that eventually. The Beach, which is day and night, and the Japanese Shrine. I believe there could be a little bit more in there, but I couldn't really find them more. Honestly, I kind of stopped looking. July 10th, according to the Nintendo Switch store, thank you, is when we should be getting Jay White, which is next week. So not an overabundance of... Okay. I feel like this has been hanging over us, and I think it's time to get into it. This game is outdated. This game was outdated when it launched. This game is not rolling out enough updates in a timely manner to stay up to date. It took forever to get Swerve. It took forever to get Tony Storm. Jamie Hayter. I mean, Jamie Hayter just came to the game. She's been injured for a year, and she was wrestling a year or two before that. This was the problem from the start, the support for this game, the battle pass and whatnot. It's not treated like an actual battle pass that other games have. It's not treated like, even when you get, say, the Ultimate Edition or the All Access, you're still not getting everything. It's not like WWE where if you buy that one Ultimate Edition, you're getting every DLC that they're putting out this year. They expect this game to have a long shelf life, which so far it's not really doing that. They're expecting people to just keep paying, keep updating for this game, but I don't think that's going to happen. There's not enough content for this game to happen. Where's Private Party? Right, that's what someone's saying. Day one, they're not there in the game.
What about Reynolds?
Reynolds. Where's Reynolds?
Evil Uno.
They skipped so many. Evil Uno was promoting this game.
Yeah, I would say he like essentially runs the AEW Games Twitch channel. He's not even in the game.
Think about this. Ethan Page came into the company, had a run in the company, and then left the company, was never even put in the game. In like a very long period, like he had a good run.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to keep it separate, but they clearly don't. Where's ROH? Give us an ROH arena. Tap into that. Give us some classics. Give us Future Shock. What's his name? Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Where are these guys? They're just rolling out 2 or 3 wrestlers every few months is just not going to work for the longevity of this game.
And I'll say this. This is I think one of the better parts of the WWE games is that the DLC is planned so far in advance that they announce the packs while they're still working on the packs. Like, just like, hey, this is what's coming. Here's your full calendar year before we start working on the next game. Like, I would not be surprised if while the game launches, they announce the DLC packs. If they're still probably working on like the Post Malone pack while like the game like just came out. Like there's so many opportunities to do small things as fan service that they either didn't do or put behind a lot of like a paywall, and not a paywall of like a DLC pack where it's worth it. It's a DLC pack where it's one thing or 2 things that you may have asked for, and then like 3 things that you didn't. And I think that's the problem with the DLC pack. I don't need all these soundtracks.
I don't need these music tracks.
I don't need music tracks. You know what I don't need in the game at all? Mini games.
I don't need mini games.
Get rid of the mini games and give me 5 more wrestlers.
Okay, I'll say this. I understand the mini games from the aspect of Road to Elite, whatever it's called. They were a good side quest to give you extra coins and extra money. We don't need 12 of them. Yeah. Especially as we saw in our playthrough, half of them don't work.
And we didn't need...
Or they're buggy or whatever.
We didn't need 4 from DLC packs.
No, and I feel like that's them justifying like you're getting this, but like I don't care. I would rather have a stacked roster of the people that have been there, people I want to actually use in the game. Which, granted, the top guys are there. My favorites are there, so whatever.
Yeah.
But Swerve took almost a year to come out.
But
Or
you
months,
can't even
however
make
long.
all
Adam
the tag teams. Like, you've got Silver. How do you not have Alex Reynolds? How do you not have
Or
Evil
Uno.
Uno? Like,
I hate to be that guy complaining because I hate when people complain, but for a game that has such potential or had such potential to be so good, there's got to be a point where you just rip the Band-Aid off and say, that's it. Enjoy the game as is. We're working on a second project and we'll be better.
I'll say this. I'm not disappointed in the game. Or no, I don't hate the game. I'm just disappointed that it could have been and should have been so much more. But it's partially on them and partially on me. They hyped up the game to be something that
I want Sting without a shirt, damn it. Yeah, that's right.
they hyped up to be something more than it was going to be, and I fed into it. Because all they did was keep saying how much it was going to be like the older games. What's up?
They put in Stadium Stampede, right?
Yeah.
Why can't we get a cage match? Tecker just pointed out in the chat, no trios. Trios are huge right now. Trios are as prominent, if not more, than the tag team titles right now.
I'll say trios have been a thing since day one.
Yeah. I don't know. Uno literally promoted the game more than anyone for a while. Yeah, he still does. He still does. Him and Adam Cole still have a gaming podcast. They still go live on the AEW Games Twitch. I go in there. I watch. I interact sometimes. And you can't even put this guy in the game? That's like just a big slap in the face.
All right. I feel like we're skipping ahead to certain parts, but let's talk about the cover because there was not an alternative cover. There was a full cover change because the prominent individual on the cover left the company. So it was
for the best, honestly.
The original cover had a green background and featured Britt Baker, Chris Jericho, Jade Cargill, I almost said Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, and Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Front and center, though, CM Punk.
This cover sucked. Everybody knew it sucked.
Was not a fan of it.
We said it looked like a fake Photoshop that a fan made on Photo Impressions 2 for the Windows XP. I don't know who passed this. I don't know if this is a THQ thing. I doubt it's an AEW thing, but they probably had to say like yes at some point. This is trash. They knew it was trash. Punk then left the company, as we all very much know. And this is when it looked like the actual AEW designers stepped in, if you ask me.
Because it feels more on brand.
Yeah, this is now actually a nice cover with Kenny Omega, MJF, Hangman Adam Page, Chris Jericho, Jade Cargill, Sting, Orange Cassidy, Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Britt Baker. That's the cover we all know. But George, the new Ultimate Edition, this cover is sick.
I genuinely enjoy this cover. It doesn't even look like a game cover. It looks like a show poster.
This is like, I want to make a show poster like this.
Like, if you told me that Fight Forever was gonna, like, there was a pay-per-view and this was the show poster, I would 100% believe you. And I was like, oh, I guess.
This is really nice.
It's awesome.
Shows Sting front and center, Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm, even though we get regular Tony Storm in the game. Swerve Strickland, the Young Bucks as the new EVP characters. Jay White, Samoa Joe, and Adam Copeland. Now it says up top for the Ultimate Edition. It's also got the nice barbed wire around it with ladders and explosions in the back. 10 new match types, 86 wrestlers, 15 DLC packs. So you get everything included here in this Ultimate. So pretty much go F yourself if you were one of those people that paid for everything along the way, because now for like 100 and whatever bucks, you could just get the Ultimate Edition and you're done. So screw you, right? Also with that, PlayStation Plus. You now also get the base game on PlayStation Plus. Now, this is what I want to know. If you get the PlayStation Plus base version, or say you pick it up at the store, or you buy it now, are you able to go back? This is a genuine question because I do not know. Are you able to go back and buy every DLC, or are you shit out of luck?
I think you can. I think you are able to buy the DLC. I think the only things that you aren't able to get are the pre-order bonuses. We're going to talk about a little later.
Okay. So, all right, that's a little better. And I guess they also want you to just buy the Ultimate Edition. But if you're getting it free on PlayStation Plus, which the rumor when the game was about to come out was that it was going to be day one Xbox Game Pass, that would have been, for me at least, and you, we're both Xbox Game Pass people, that would have been sick. But good for PlayStation Plus people too, because there's certainly a lot of them, and now more people will play this game, and maybe that'll wake something up. I don't know. It seems like they're going to continue this style, though. Let's talk about the art. Let's talk about the game itself. I got
no notes, man. Game looks great.
So it's not your typical WWE looking sim game where everyone looks real, but there are certain instances where these character models look pretty amazing, even though they look a little smaller, a little cartoony, a little Fortnite-y, some people have said in the past.
Say, Fortnite kind of Hasbro-y.
Yeah, a little action figure-y. I think it's pretty cool looking. You're not going to get something that looks like a television production in this game, like a WWE game. You're getting something different, and that's what they were going for.
And I don't think they ever presented it like it was going to be that.
No, you don't want that. You don't want exact competition, especially against 2K, who's been doing this for years. Yeah. It's not going to work. And the way the 2K games are now, they're so almost perfect. I hate to say, because someone will come at me. They
are like photo perfect. They you could see the pores on people's faces on their entrance. Like it is, it's details on it's details of things that we didn't want details of.
Right. Now, I'm very excited because Adam Copeland's in this game, as we see from the screenshot here. It's about time. I like that. Oh, which we should mention, I don't think Metalingus is in the game, judging by the commercials.
No, I don't.
Who knows when the game actually comes out? Ruby Soho does not have her music.
Nope.
There are a few. I think Jungle Boy has his. Orange Cassidy has his. Moxley does not have his. He has his old music. So some stuff's a little but to each their own. The entrances are sick. They're No Mercy TNA Impact style, where they're only half entrances down the ramp.
And you can control the pyro.
Control the pyro. You can control the camera angles. That's very fun. I enjoy doing that. You get the character, the name pop up with the singles record, which goes with the game, not real life, which I like. It has sometimes the fun fact or the nickname on top. The game plays like an old AKI game. It's a little bit of a clunker at times, but you can get used to it. And I think one of the best parts is you can remap the buttons to whatever you want. So if you're comfortable with a certain way, I know the run button's very weird on the B button or circle if you're on PlayStation. Move it to the trigger. The world is yours. You can do whatever you want.
Make it play like a game that you're more familiar with. Map it to a controller layout that feels more intuitive. If you're your first time playing this game, I'm sure that you'll figure it out fine just based on, the way that it's laid out. But if you have, you go to do certain controls on certain buttons like John and I do a lot of the time, the ability to remap a controller can literally change a game just from, you're not trying to reverse something and then you accidentally, throwing a punch or a grapple.
Yeah. Speaking of grapples, it is a bit weird, the controls. I actually want to pull up AEW Fight Forever controller layout. I think going for, which me and you have played No Mercy on current PC, whatever, with trying with an Xbox controller, it doesn't play the same because
no.
The N64 controller was so unique. But I'm looking here at an Xbox controller. You have kick, high strike, run, and grapple. You could steal a finisher or do a taunt with the R thumbstick. You could change your target with the left. The grapple guard or grapple reversal and pin is LB. Action is L2. Irish whip is R2. I always forget that Irish whip has its own button.
I always think it's
And
run.
strike guard or pull up or down an opponent is RB. So there's a lot going on here. I feel like it could be a little bit simpler. It's just not. And you get used to it, but it's one of those games where if you don't play for a while, you have to remember what you're doing when you come back. It's not like WWE where you come in, you're like, okay, here we go, let's play. But I guess the more you play it, it's just I don't know.
Man. Graphically,
for words.
No. The I'm trying to make sure that we're not just shitting on the game the entire time, because there are a lot of redeeming things about the game, like the graphic presentation, the experience of singles matches, tag matches, the casino battle royale, the barbed wire death match. Those are great experiences. We talked about the entrances, the graphic style may not be for everybody, but they never presented that this would be like a super photo realistic style game. So you kind of knew from the beginning. I mean, the first trailer, when you see Jericho, you knew immediately that there was a smooth, cell shaded, cartoony-esque aspect to it. And there you go. Tecker in our chat just brought up another good point. So there were a few, but there weren't game breaking there wasn't game breaking bugs at launch. There was a surprisingly almost none.
No, and even
no bugs
now,
almost. There were like small patches that came out, but it was nothing game breaking.
I agree. There wasn't. There was some like people stretching. That happens in every game, like across the screen and whatever. I didn't really encounter anything here.
No, there were, those things always make the rounds on social media, especially when a game launches, but it wasn't anything that was detrimental to someone's experience. We would just have like little glitches here and there, or and things like that. But it wasn't anything that was, 2K20-esque.
No, definitely not. Did you know? Did you know AEW Fight Forever features authentic crowd chants and noises recorded from real AEW events, and the superstar grunts and noises are all them as well?
We already talked about this one, so I'm going to do this one and the next one. Did you know AEW Fight Forever is included with your PlayStation Plus subscription? And finally, did you know AEW Fight Forever can be found on eBay between $12 and $15 for consoles, or...
It says 25, but we'll forget about that.
$12 to $25. And then John has here,
developed by THC,
or your local Walmart discount bin for $9.99.
Okay, that's legit. Someone I know sent a screenshot saying, I just picked this up. It had a $9.99 sticker on it from Walmart. I'm going to give it a go because it's $9.99. And then a week later, it came out to PS Plus and they said, damn it, I could have just got it free. But regardless, that's very expensive for eBay. I get it, but I think...
Well, there are some people that like physical copies of games.
I think that's it. I actually want to see how much is it on Steam right now.
Well, while you look that up, I'm going to talk about the pre-order bonus that was available. If you pre-ordered Fight Forever, you got the Matt Hardy DLC. You got the first season pass, which was FTR, the Bunny and Keith Lee, as well as Hook and Danhausen, and the game itself.
So from now until July 11th, it is 50% off on Steam for everything. So if you want the game itself, it's only $19.99. If you want the Elite Edition, it's $29.99. And if you want the Ultimate Bundle, it is marked down 57% from $136 to $59. So if you want to pay just for the game as it was when it came out, you can get everything right now on Steam.
Wow.
Now, The DLC is also a couple bucks off. It looks like season pass 1 and 2 are $14.99, $12.49, 50%. Season 3 is $11 and season 4 is full price at $20.
All right.
So there are options if you want to play this game. Now, while I'm on Steam, I know we're not getting to this ratings and review part yet.
It's all right. It's all good.
Recently reviewed, mostly negative. All reviews mixed. But the recent there's only 15 of them. But out of 1,000, it's mixed. Interesting. All right. While we're talking about it, I think it's time to sit back and relax. And it's time for some R&R. Some ratings and reviews. So, Metacritic, PC, a 68 out of 100. PS5, a 67. And the Xbox, a 66. Now, for the publications, Game Informer gives us a 6.25 out of 10. GameSpot with a 6 out of 10. Games Radar Plus with a 3.5 out of 5 stars. IGN with a 6 out of 10. Polygon Magazine recommends. And Slant Magazine with a 4 out of 5 stars. So not terrible. I mean, okay. This game is not 2K20.
No.
I'm not even gonna go here. It's time to rate the games.
The game!
George,
John.
I'm going first.
Yeah, go first.
Will I play forever, future endeavor, blah, blah, blah. This is not a broken game. This is not a bad game. This is a game that lacks stuff. This is a game that needs content, like I said earlier in the episode. This needs stuff that keeps me coming back. Now, every time I turn on my Xbox, I hover over it and I say, should I do it? But I'm going to say play forever. Which may come shocking to some people. I want to see where it goes. I want to see if they listen and start supporting stuff that people ask for. They need polish. They need a fresh coat of paint. They need that updated dynamite. They need to give us give us a patch of just 20 new superstars. Not even DLC. Give us the OGs. Update people's attires, update their appearances, update the creative suite. Give us, listen, we're not going to pay Rancid to give you Ruby Soho. Here's your Xbox. Upload your own music. Go for it. Go back to the WWE style for that. This game will never be a 2K game. It's never intended to be a 2K game. It could be a really good alternate like a Fire Pro if it was supported that way, but it's just not. Fire Pro's creative is way too deep. Their DLC was always cool.
Yeah.
The community is always thriving. They do not have that in this game. Go cross-platform. Figure it out. PlayStation Plus is a step in the right direction. Bring it to the Game Pass. Get it on PC and console that way. Have more people playing it. And I think there is a way to save this game. I just don't think it's going to happen. So that's a play forever with a big ol' we'll see. George, what say you?
I'm not going to repeat everything that you just said, but I'm right there with you. From a core gameplay standpoint, when the game launched, I had no complaints. Because I was like, graphically, it's great. Matches play well. It's got simple controller scheme, things like that. Again, mentioned it earlier. You just brought it up a couple minutes ago. The main thing is that it still feels like it's the same game from a year ago, and it shouldn't. Like, at its core, it should. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it hasn't advanced. And that's my problem. Like you said, there should be more wrestlers. There should be more creative options for the creative suite and entrance musics and stuff like that. But we didn't need it all on day one. It would have just been nice if like that roadmap included those things. Like you said.
Yeah. Give us a roadmap.
Yeah. Add more wrestlers down the line. Maybe don't put everyone behind. Okay, look. I 100% understand that this is a video game that need to make money, and DLC is a huge way to increase profits. I think what would have been a fantastic DLC plan is you continue to roll out the base roster from AEW as free DLC content, Reynolds, Uno, things like that. But then when you sign new people like Adam Copeland, great. I am more than happy to pay for someone who wasn't in AEW when this game came out. I think that is I'm sure that there's a reason that they didn't do it, but in my scenario for this game, that makes more sense from a longevity of the game standpoint and a way to keep your customers happy, because, hey, we're still rolling out the base roster, because originally I do believe that the plan was to be this was the start of AEW and that they were going to continuously add the people from the roster until it was current. And as new people were signed, that would be the DLC. And then somewhere along the way, that was abandoned. And now it's only DLC. There's almost no free characters. And the ones that are free characters from the Twitch channel that like Nyla Rose and other people made on the AEW Games playthrough channel. Like that's their, like those creator wrestlers.
You didn't even talk about those. Those are horrible.
They're Nobody so weird. That. I mean, they did add, what's his name? Chris Danger is in the game.
Okay, cool.
Which is, wrestling YouTuber, plays all the video games, has been on the platform for a long time. But man, again, I said I don't want to say the exact same thing that you did, and I'm doing it. But I'm right there with you, man. It's a play it forever. I like the game at its core. I'm just a little disappointed with where it is a year later. But I'm optimistic. I hope that at a certain point, things will change. And the people who still play it and enjoy it will reap the benefits of it. And the people who have already made up their decision about the game will unfortunately miss out until the next generation of this game. But we would like to also propose the question to you. You can let us know what you think about this game on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. You can also leave a comment on the video in the YouTube. And yeah, man, I think that's it. Are you ready to hop into this week's softball question?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to say AEW has a lot of hate. Jamie specifically. No, I'm kidding. They always will, because they're the alternate. Yeah. This game is going to have those same haters, whether you're a fan or not. So, got to take everything with a grain of salt, and you got to play it for yourself before you figure it out. So, that's it. I'm ready for the soft lock.
All right. The Soft Lock is a segment on the podcast where one of our mega marks from Patreon gives us a topic to discuss, a question to answer, something to debate. It's a question of the week with a fancy name. And as always, it is brought to you by our friends over at Dubby. Make sure to use code GameMarksPod to save yourself 10% over at Dubby.gg. Do what me and John should have done and get yourself some jitterless free energy, because we definitely needed it. We've been slipping the tongue all night. Slip of the tongue, not slipping the tongue. See, needed it there. Oh, the soft lock question comes from the man who is in the chat right now. That is one Mr. Sean
I'm so glad this is live.
Tecker. Tacker's question is, this may have already been asked, but it's been on my mind. What is the most disappointed game rental that you've had? I remember plenty of boxes at Blockbuster had awesome box art and trash gameplay when you booted it up. Ooh, that's tough.
I know mine.
Really? You got that quick?
Spider-Man 3.
You know?
And this is why. This is why. I played 2. I rented 2. I loved it so much. This was when I was in my stage where it was a Friday night. I did not feel like doing shit. I would go to Blockbuster. I would rent a game and a movie. I would go home, hang out by myself because I love doing that and I don't like people.
So glad that we do a podcast in front of people live on YouTube.
Sometimes you just need to hang out, you know? I would watch the movie and then the movie would be over and I would play the game for the entire weekend, you know, whether it was summer or winter break from college or I don't know, maybe even younger. Spider-Man 2 was so good. And I remember it was a little older and I was like, I never gave it a shot. I played 1. They made such good changes for Spider-Man 2 that I tried it out. I loved it. I beat it in like 2 days. I grinded the shit out of it. I went back to Blockbuster like 2 days later, returned it, got Spider-Man 3. I sat on it for like maybe a day and I put it in and I was like, okay, it's the same game. I really don't feel like going through this grind again. Like it's kind of like I just put all that time into this. Do I really want to keep going? I didn't. I think I played maybe an hour, said this is the same thing as the last one, and then back the next day.
I'm stuck between 2. So there was a Star Wars game. It's called Masters of Terras Kasi. It was
Lego Star Wars is another one for me. Sorry.
So I feel like the Lego Star Wars games are either hit or miss. Like either you love them or you just
overbearing.
It's a Star Wars fighter game, Masters of Terras Kasi, I think it was called, and it was just not what I wanted it to be at all. And it just was slow and like it was a very like methodical fighting game. Like you really had to pick your spots, and that's just like not what I was hoping that it was going to be. But it looked so cool. And the other one that I came to mind, another fighting game, was, did you ever play the Fight Club video game?
I have not.
Oh,
I've seen it.
Boy, that's bad too.
No desire.
That's bad too. Yeah. Technically, it's a fighting game.
Technically. Okay.
Nah, I don't.
You have an episode of OMG coming up.
I don't think it counts, though. I don't think it counts. No, I got my episode of OMG. I know what I'm doing already.
Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah, but guys, let us know. Tecker asked a real good question here. What is the most disappointed you had ever been in a game rental? You can let us know on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. John, what are we doing next week?
All right. So George went away ago. We rolled the tapes. I'm going away next week, guys. So we're going to roll another tape. We gave you Chris Statlander interview last week. Next week, we're going to give you the MJF interview again in its greatest hits form. But then after that, George,
I have an idea.
You have an idea.
So there's a game that has been on the list for, I don't know. It's always been kind of up at the top of the list for a while. It's a Japanese wrestling game called Pro Wrestling Sengokuden Hyper Tag Match. Don't think that we've played it, and I think that we should play it.
Okay, we'll mark it down and we'll fact check that and we'll come back.
Because there is another game that I was originally going to pick because it's just on the list and it's called New Japan Pro Wrestling 94. But New Japan Pro Wrestling 94 is actually Shin Nippon Battlefield in Tokyo Dome 94, which we have played.
That happens. That happens a lot where we don't know. But,
so we're gonna pencil that in for now. Pro Wrestling Sengokuden Hyper Tag Match. It is
we played just Pro Wrestling Sengokuden.
Yes,
not Hyper Tag Match.
So this is a PlayStation 1 throwback. So we'll be diving into that. Guys, thank you for hanging out with us on this live episode. And if you are listening to this on the podcast feed, we appreciate you just as much. As always, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our weekly playthroughs and a whole lot more. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for our shirts. Patreon.com/PodExchange for this show early and ad-free, access to all of the exclusive shows that John talked about at the beginning. And of course, content from our sister shows, State of Affairs and Going Postal, at GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Oh, it was a live bell this time. That's fantastic.
That was a good one.
And please leave a review, leave a rating, like the video, comment on the video if you're on YouTube.
Press that subscribe button.
It really does help out the podcast. If you don't want to buy a shirt, you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. The best thing that you can do to support the podcast is just do one of those things, like, comment, subscribe, leave a rating. It really does help us out. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, you can reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. Johnny Clash, it's the longest stream that we've done in a long time. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no game shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.